Hello everyone, Derek Stam Toys, and we are back with another action figure review. And today I'm really excited because we've got Legend Series 10 Vader, one man who I've been missing in my collection for the longest time. Of course, he doesn't have many figures, so he's not an easy figure to get, but I am very excited. Got a mid-on card too, which is kind of ironic because we don't keep things mid-on card here as far as wrestling figures go. But this is a pretty expensive buy if you do try to find it on eBay. I got lucky. I paid maybe a max of like $26 for it, as where a lot of sellers are trying to sell this figure for like $35 to $40. So just keep that in mind. If you look and you find the right deal, you might just find something cheap enough that goes for way more than... I'm not saying it should, because Vader is a rare figure to come by. Especially if you're trying to look for the OG Elite men-on card, good luck. I don't think I even saw one. But before we get too into detail there, I've got a really good feeling I'm going to fall in love with this figure once I get it out of the package. So I think we're going to get it out of its plastic prison and we'll get into the figure review. Alrighty, now that we've got Vader out of his plastic prison, let's go over some of these accessories. As you can see, we've got two interchangeable head sculpts. One is a molded mask head sculpt, which has quite a bit of nice little red details in it. Honestly, definitely one of my favorite Vader head sculpts, I can say. Especially because this one usually tends to be like the repeat head sculpt. It's still got a nice, good chunk of detail in there. It looks like Vader. Got a little bit of a paint smudge there. I don't know if... yeah, you can definitely see it on camera. So that's not the first paint smudge I've seen though, as he's also got like a little red one on the back of his arm, but not the biggest ordeal. I haven't seen too much other than that. But of course he comes with his mask that goes on to this head sculpt. I might do that off camera because I've never had to put the mask onto the Vader head sculpt before. And of course he comes with his Mastodon helmet, which I am very excited to put that onto the figure and see what that looks like. And on top of all that, he comes with two different sets of hands. He comes with like the weapon holding, mic holding hands. And then he comes with the V hands for Vader, or, well, Vader time. Either way, pretty good chunk of accessories. And now, why don't we get what? I don't know what head sculpt I'm going to put on it, but let's get some of these head sculpts on there and check out the figure with the hands on it and just see how much I really do like this figure compared to some of the other ones I've seen online. Now getting into the figure itself, it's got a really nice look to it. The black and red with the little white laces on the boots, the black and red mask, it really does fit in pretty well together. Getting a look at the back side of it, he's got more of the red designs on his attire. And they do come down onto the legs and go into like the knee pad area, which I almost kind of wonder if I put smaller knee pads on him, would you be able to see that detail a little bit better? I don't know. But speaking of detail, I did manage to get the Vader mask onto the other head sculpt. And I can say it definitely does make the head sculpt feel a little bit better. Just kind of feels a little odd that they would give us an accessory like this when they could have just gave us another mask sculpt and then just gave us the mask separately with that head sculpt, so then we wouldn't have to take the mask on, put it off if we ever wanted to have Vader maskless in like our pick feds or whatever. I don't know, but if I use Vader in the pick fed, this is definitely the getup I'm using him in. If you don't know, because I personally wouldn't have known until I looked into it, this attire is from his WCW run. I'm not exactly sure when, but he used this while he was in WCW. As you know, this man has been all over the place. He's been in New Japan, he's been in WCW, WWF. Technically, he's wrestled a couple of times after the name changed to WWE. Maybe I'm wrong on this. Feel free to fact check me. But I want to say he even had a match or two in Impact Wrestling when it was known as TNA. But like I said, I could be wrong there. But like, just getting into the mask head sculpt that has the mask sculpted on. It is literally just the same head sculpt as this one, if we're going to be honest. But the beard is a little bit of a different color, I think. Like I don't know if like the beard is just not as prevalent on this head sculpt to me. But it looks like the beard on this head sculpt's a different color compared to this one. Which, I mean, I guess I don't really mind that, but that's just a little odd detail I think I'm noticing now. And speaking of detail, let's get into some of the articulation here. Now, he doesn't really look up too high, but he can look down pretty decent. I wonder if it'll stay the same once we throw the other head sculpt on, because I might just test that out. His ab crunch is pretty damn well, too, for a bigger figure. He can go back that far as the ab crunch and back bend goes. He's got waist swivel, of course, as most Mattel figures do. He's got a bend in the elbow, of course, because this figure's a little bit older, not a double bend, just a singular bend. He's got upper bicep swivel and shoulder rotation, along with the ability to move the shoulder out. And of course, your favorite wrist swivel and wrist bend, because it wouldn't be a good wrestling figure if they couldn't at least bend their wrist. Now, as far as the legs go, the legs honestly kind of remind me of Bam Bam Bigelow's formula, because he's actually pretty decently flexible. And I don't know if he is not on ball joints, which is kind of weird. Oh, there's the click. I didn't hear the click with this one yet. I don't know if it'll come though. Oh yeah, there's a little bit of a click there. So there's the ratchet joints in the hip area. That's a little sucky, but that's whatever. He does technically have a double bend in the knee, but the big knee pad might kind of mess with that. Of course, upper thigh swivel or rotation. He's got ankle rotation, just a little stiff, and I don't know if the boots are really gonna let me show it, but he does technically have ankle bend, and he's got a little bit of an ankle rock. It's definitely one of my favorite Vader figures that have come out since the first inception of Vader. But you know, before we just sit here and talk about Vader for like another 3 minutes before we pose him up and stuff, let's check him out with the other head sculpt and maybe the Mastodon helmet on afterwards. Now, getting into the alternative mask head sculpt, and well, technically also maskless head sculpt, as you can remove this mask, it still definitely doesn't look bad. I don't know if he's ever worn this getup though. Like, I would really have to do some excessive research into the figure, but the head rotation is a little wonky on this. I don't know if maybe I put it on wrong or whatever, or if maybe the neck and the mask are kind of like rubbing on each other. Maybe I need to like put the mask up a little bit higher. I don't know there. I'm not exactly sure. I maybe this will work better. I don't know. And no, it's not really rotating that well. And I mean, he's definitely got the same amount of look down and look up as the other mask head sculpt, I'd say. Maybe a little less on this one because it actually shows more of like the actual head detail. I don't know. It's just weird that it won't rotate as well. But let's see it with the Mastodon helmet on, shall we? So the Mastodon helmet was a little bit of a pain to kind of get it on there and have it so like the eyes were actually poking out of the eye holes. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it to work with this head sculpt having the mask on it, which is also another reason why it would have been cool if we could have just gotten that head scan with the mask molded on and then a separate one for like this reason. But I don't know. Just because this is the main look I'm sure I'm going to be using, I highly doubt I'm really going to bother to like remove this mask just to put this on during an entrance and then have to put that mask back into position and all that kind of stuff. It sounds like a lot of work for one match, let alone just one entrance. But it definitely does look good on the figure, you know. Just to get like a little back shot of the figure, you can kind of see that little red smudge right there I was talking about. But it definitely gives an interesting vibe. I know watching him come out with the entrance, having this on, it was pretty damn cool back in the day. Especially when I was starting to research some of the more legendary people in wrestling, and I fell in love with Vader's work when I heard about the match where he had gotten punched in the face so hard his eyeball popped out of socket, or he had like gotten gouged in the eye by, I think it was Stan Hansen's thumb, and he popped his eye back into place, just kept on going. Like, this man was determined to make his career legendary by any means, and I want to say that happened in New Japan. I'm not exactly too sure. It might not have been New Japan, but I know it was one of the Japanese promotions at the time. And just what a phenomenal wrestler this man really is. Of course, he had a couple of the mishaps in WWF, but I don't really look at his WWF career as like his career highlights. Like, of course, maybe that's where he made some of the bigger names for himself here in America, besides WCW. But he definitely was a big name in Japan. But why don't we get him posed up for like the final minute and a half, 2-3 minutes, and let's just kind of rate the figure and talk a little bit more about Vader. Alright, now that I've got them all like posed up for the final pose, I can definitely say that this is probably one of the better Vader figures I have ever seen. Yeah, sadly, this is my only one I own, but at the same time, looking at the other ones in reviews, looking at the other ones in pictures, other than having no double jointed elbow, this figure is really solid. And when I say he's really solid, I think I'm gonna give it a nice good old, I think we're gonna go with an 8.5, just because personally I would have loved to have just like an extra head sculpt that is just essentially this, but with the mask molded on. Other than that, there's really no big downgrade here for me. I don't own any of the other Vader figures though, so I can't really speak on how good those ones are. But if you're looking for a Vader figure, you find this one fairly cheap, I definitely have to say go grab it. It's worth it. I'm gonna have a lot of fun knowing this is in my collection and doing some little spots and stuff like that. Maybe in the pig fed, you never know, because I have a weird little iffy thing about using people who aren't alive anymore, and I know I'm willing to do it, but I just don't want to casually bring back everybody who's not here with us anymore. I do have plans for some superstars, though, that may not be. But we'll have to see if it ends up working out. But as far as Vader goes, I would love to at least do like a Royal Rumble spot with Vader. Maybe do a couple of matches with Vader, because Vader was definitely a popular character back in the day. He's still a fairly popular character nowadays. After all, he is a Legends, hence why he was in the Legends line. I think this is, his second or third figure in the Legends Wave 2. I don't know if they're still doing the Legends series anymore. But with them bringing it back, I definitely have an appreciation for this line that I didn't have before when it was out. Because back when I was growing up, they weren't really putting too many people in the Legends line that I knew. But of course, Vader was one of the very, few people I actually did recognize. So, hey, I don't know what to say other than that. But before I keep on rambling, I gave him an 8.5, so I guess we'll give him a solid 4 out of 5 stars. It's almost a perfect figure. Feel like there's just a couple of little small things they could have done to make this figure over the top. But on that note, if you liked the video, shoot it a like. If you want to subscribe for future wrestling action figure content such as reviews, possible unboxings when I tend to get a very large shipment of figures in, and or my pick fed, just throwing that out there. You could go and watch the pick fed if you want. Speaking of the pick fed, I have started working on the next episode, and in fact, I'm gonna have a little sneak preview of what it is with a little video. Yeah, I kind of lost my train of thought there. I'm gonna have a little sneak preview to the beginning of the pick fed with the next figure review, because I plan on debuting him in the next episode. So keep your eyes out for that. And of course, it's going to be in the beginning of the full episode once that comes out. But I still got a couple more things to do. But on that note, now that my brain is starting to work again, all I can say is have a good rest of your day, you guys. Peace out.